All right. Hey, welcome to Hot or Not, a show about hot new products. But today we're going to talk about something a little bit different. We're going to talk about do's and don'ts of animated displays. Today I'm here with Kevin Nagy, who was just actually on the Great Christmas Light Fight. Amazing display, by the way, Kevin.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, how I just some of the hot topics so people could kind of remember, the themes of your show. Everyone kind of remembers. I think the dog. Your show is about themed based off of dogs, right? It was kind of about the foundation that you guys were supporting. That was one of the biggest thing that I got away from that. As somebody that loves dogs myself, I was like, wow,
Mhm.
that's a great thing, great thing to support. It had a great story to it too. And then also as well, I think it was the beach ball, with the short throw projection. I think a lot of people kind of came away from that, remembering that the most, I think. Um,
Yeah.
and for me also, a big thing was like the show itself, that you brought things in that were, more traditional stuff that you would see at the store, and you pixelated it. You
Mhm.
made it so you can define it in the X lights and everything like that. And it made for a quite original show. I felt like, but traditional in a way. Like somebody would go by it and feel very nostalgic to it, and then be wowed once the show kind of got started. So since the Great Christmas Light Fight, how's everything kind of been for you?
Things have been great. I think other people on your show here, everyone has basically the same story that it was an awesome experience. Would definitely do it again. Kind of went through a momentary depression when it was all said and done because it's just it's nice to be focused on and appreciated and just being able to display something that I really have my heart and soul into for 9 years now. So yeah, we started 9 years ago. About 7 years ago, partnered with Michigan Humane Society here because it was the same year that we lost our dog, and then 3 weeks later lost our cat, and kind of going through that hardship and getting ready for that year's show, thinking, we have all these people that are coming here all the time. We have a platform. We could do some good. So let's turn our loss into helping others gain what we love so much, support a society that does a great job into doing that, and go from there. So it's been growing ever since. Come to 2018, where my episode of Great Christmas Light Fight was filmed. Uh, that was the first year for Mr. Frost, the snowball. It was a concept for about a year and a half or so.
Hmm.
I've been wanting to really give a what do you call it, like a spirit, a character, emotion to the show. So yeah, I was looking for an interesting way of doing that instead of just flashing a tree to the
Mm.
lyrics of a song or something. How can I really bring this alive? um, then I wasn't sure I was going to do it because you get called, you get 6 weeks to set up for the show. We just booked a week vacation out of the country during that time too. So our setup time was like 5 weeks. Didn't even know how I was going to pull off this Mr. Frost, but yeah, my wife was great. Really encouraged me on this and said, yeah, we definitely, if we're going to do it, this is the year to do it. So she helped with creating the graphics for that one. And then in parallel, I was going like crazy Amazoning priming devices every day to the house on, okay, how do we switch from a media player on HDMI to the projector for all the songs, and then how do we switch to interactive mode when we want to interact with the audience out there. Um, and then we're in Michigan here, so one day is going to be 65 and sunny. The next day is going to be minus 20, sleet, ice. So now we need a heater in the projector box. We need
Oh,
cooling fans. We need separate processors and everything to
yeah.
control all that. And I don't want to go out there and turn it on and turn it off every night.
Mhm.
So let's program all that stuff. So um, yeah, that was quite a
Endeavor.
yeah, segment to pull off, but yeah, I think it came off really well. Um, And then it gets to 2 days before filming, and
Hmm.
we're like, wow, we have to be out there with the judge. We need someone inside to act as the voice for that. And I'm talking to a neighbor. I don't know what I'm going to do. And he's like, well, I have a friend that, was in theater and stuff back in high school and might like to actually do something like this. So
Hmm.
we pull the stranger in the house trying to tell him our crazy plan on we want you to be a 6 foot snowman and take on that persona in front of a camera and microphone inside the house. And it was a little shaky the night before. And it's like, well, whatever, let's give it the best shot. And
Did he have like lines that you kind of were shooting for? Like, because he seemed like he was on the spot as far as some of those like jokes that he had. I know magic of filming, but
yeah,
still.
yeah, so in case he watches this, yeah, I have to, yeah, Rand is his name. Yeah, did a fantastic job. Again, I didn't know him, and
Yeah.
he's trying to learn us, and man, I'm just trying to do a favor for a high school friend of a neighbor, and so the dress rehearsal, like the somewhere around 1 a.m. I think the night
Mhm.
before the reveal, we're telling just say something, and he's a airplane pilot, so
Oh.
he's doing his normal like airplane pilot. We're cruising at 26,000 feet, whatever, and it's like, okay, he's got the voice for it. I don't know if he's going to have the personality for it.
Hmm.
And then it came to the reveal. We did the songs, and then we do the walkthrough. None of that was scripted. The
Hmm.
guy just nailed it out of the
Yeah.
ballpark.
Holy cow.
He must have been Googling snowman jokes or something the night before.
Yeah.
There was probably 20 other jokes that were just hilarious. Maybe even some that were off kilter. I really wish they used them all, but
Oh yeah.
yeah,
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 I could tell that Carter got hit with a few because the way in the episode there was like he said like something like every single thing he's got something or something, it seemed like he was on it. So it was like,
oh
oh,
yeah,
there
yeah.
definitely was more to that.
Yeah, it was like a 30-minute cheese factory out there of jokes, but it was fantastic, perfect for the show and stuff, and
Mhm.
I think he had a really good time doing it. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Well, I think I love that episode in general because you like it was so much like knowledge thrown at him too,
yeah.
Carter, and that like they edited it in such a way that it was very like fun for everyone to watch. I
Hmm.
felt like, and the whole Demux thing, his
Yeah.
face, and stuff. That's oh man, that was
Yeah, and I was a little afraid going in because I know the history. I've seen the show, right? I
yeah, yeah.
know, and it's kind of the point of today's podcast here.
Hmm.
The you're already up against a challenge of doing a pixel show, and how is this going to be unique from the other amazing pixel shows that have been out there? Yeah, I knew the challenges of doing a pixel show, and it's going to be high tech. And I know Carter likes the DIY, but I think he likes more of the woodworking
Hmm.
DIY and stuff. But the producer took me aside 2 minutes before the walkthrough, and he's like, just nerd out on this one. I said, okay, I'm
No.
I'm gonna go for it full bore. And there was probably an extra hour of material than what they even showed on that. But afterwards, it was great just seeing my messenger and everything fill up
Mhm.
with my classmates from engineering school to former coworkers of like, you really did us all proud that night on what it actually takes and what goes into it, and it's not just black magic.
Hmm.
And yeah.
I have to say that I think you're like the first show ever that they when they're filming your actual display, with their big reveal, and the way that they filmed it, I've been at reveals and stuff like that. I've been builds and everything like that, so I know that they do it in many different angles, many different shots, stuff like that. But the way they
Mhm.
edited it, your shot, it seemed like they spent some time making sure that the voice was matched with the music properly. A lot of
Mhm.
times they just edit it and it's like you don't see the effects really being matched up. I've interviewed people that have been on the show and they're like, yeah, they didn't even use the song that you saw on the episode wasn't even the song we saw in
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
And like it seemed like they did take care of like in your episode especially that everything kind of matched up. I rewatched it a little bit just a couple hours ago, and
Mhm.
I even spent some time making sure that the mouth did match like when the Owl City was singing the song and everything like that.
Mhm.
And so that in myself kind of shows like that the show wanted to put focus on that object. They want to put focus on your show and making sure everything was matched just properly and everything like that. And it did us compared to most animated displays on that show, it did a good service compared
Mhm.
to most of them, you know?
Yeah, thank you. And yeah,
Yeah.
I'm glad you could appreciate that and see that it's exactly what we're going for. It's kind of the theme of this podcast here on, the do's and don'ts, and taking the extra time, not just setting up a 20, 30, or $50,000 show. And there's some amazing ones out there, but then taking more than 2 hours per song after that point to really do yourself justice. And whether you're just flashing lights or you're making an animated tree or bulb sing or Mr. Frost in this case, yeah. And I get it. For years, probably for 3 or 4 seasons, I put all my time into setting up, and then it's Thanksgiving night, and oh my God, I still need to sequence 2 songs. I'm just going to do the songs I did last year, and maybe wishful thinking throughout the month of December, I'll get around to sequencing better and adding songs. And finally, maybe the last 2 or 3 seasons, I took the time throughout the year. Now it's February, March, April. I'm sequencing. I'm really taking the time. I'm breaking things down to 16th and 30-second notes in the songs to make sure things are hitting right on point. If there's some part of a song, and that happens with 64 notes on an incline, I make sure my riff line is divided in 64 segments, and each one illuminates on that, because I think it just gives a much better effect to see that than one of the don'ts I had here of just doing a pinwheel effect for 3.5 minutes on a song, because it's a great effect. And it's amazing now what they're doing with the Lightorama and X lights, and you build your props and everything, and very impressive. Uh, but yeah, not really sequenced. It's more of mesmerization on top of a song that you just overlay. And yeah, that's where I definitely try to be different with what I do. Now I say that, but I have to say a disclaimer, because yeah, I agree with you. I think they edited my show very well. Little backstory to that quick.
Mhm.
So I take the whole month of October off to set up that year. I'm delivering 3 meals a day to me, because I didn't dare take an extra minute away uh, for the time I had to be on the roof and in the yard and everything, and finished 10 minutes before cameras were rolling, because my show laptop decided to hit the ground the night before, and I had to reload everything into another computer and all that fun stuff. I appreciate that you could see my sequencing,
Mhm.
and yeah, the words and everything in sync as well as possible. We did our own homework for the show,
Mhm.
meaning I know ABC and Fremantle reaches out to these song producers. We
Oh
reached
yeah.
out as well to make sure that our 3 songs were all approved, because I had that fear. I've seen the shows before, and it's like,
Yeah.
ooh, something's not right here. You can tell someone has an amazing
Mhm.
animation show, but the clearance didn't come back in time. So now they have to do the free song of Jingle Bells or whatever on top of it.
Yeah.
And
Well,
yeah,
mhm.
everything you've put into, especially this, it was a
Yes.
13-month process. I'd hate to see something where the general public is going to be like, well, that's not impressive. That's just a bunch of flashy
Mhm.
with some song on top of it. So yeah. Now I wish they used one of the other 2 songs I did.
Oh
I
yeah.
think they went with The Light of Christmas because I think it was used in a previous season. I think it's
Okay.
maybe a little more well received out there with the public. So it's not bad.
Mhm.
But yeah, the one little thing I want to put out there about it, the part that I cringed about the editing, is they decided to focus on the 8 or 10 seconds of my pinwheel effect on
Yes.
all the different wraps. And here I'm talking about,
I know.
be careful using the pinwheel. Now, I mean, what I did with the pinwheel at least was I slowed it down. I played with the attributes
Mhm.
behind those props. So at least on the downbeat or every quarter note, the fans or the pins are hitting a certain point
Mhm.
of the matrix or the joy or whatever I'm doing that on. So I at least tried my best. I mean, there's nothing wrong in using those effects. You just don't want to use them throughout a whole song. So yeah, I cringed a little bit of like, oh, people are probably going to watch this, and oh yep, it's another typical light show of just pinwheel effects. And I wish they showed some of my fills, some of my the snowfall is accumulating, and right when it
Yeah.
gets to the top it goes into the chorus, and
Uh-huh.
and things like that. But yeah, I have videos out there for people who want to
Okay,
see the
great.
whole song. But
Yeah, but it was at least per model. It wasn't like a pinwheel on the whole house kind of a thing. At
Yeah.
least that one part that we're talking about. And so that, you know, and like you said, yeah, I did see a gradual effect based off of the beats and stuff like that. So that at
Mhm.
least it kind of went through for the people that, you know about that stuff. So, and then, yeah, I like that they did kind of focus on the mega tree at one point when the snow was falling, when the song does make set, mentions, snow is falling and stuff like
Mhm.
that. So they did have that. I love your snowflakes on the roof too. That's how you can basically create a pattern with that, and that kind of I believe probably something like that. You're doing it on purpose, right? So then it's not just boom all the snowflakes, right? You have
Right.
that moment and you use that appropriately in the sequence, and that kind of goes into the do's and don'ts and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Just
it's 64 channels just for the snowflakes, for the 60 snowflakes or whatever I had up there. Just so, yeah, everyone can be its own prop, its own feature. You can go left to right, up to down, explosions. You can do pretty cool things on a roof
Mhm.
instead of just all on, all off. So I know I have a lot of store bought stuff, but yeah, I at least try to make the best of it as fills and things.
I
And
think
yeah,
that's
like,
going to be the theme going forward. You see on the forums right now, people are, are thinking about that. They're kind of sick of the cutouts and Coro and stuff like that. They
yeah,
want to try to bring in some of the old nostalgic stuff. I can't say nostalgic because that's where it hits me. I see, and especially again, back to your show, just how like, I'm sure if you walk through it, like if you have it set to go on at 6 o'clock or 5:30 and you're driving there at 5:40 or 5:25, and then you sit there and then boom, it hits right at
yeah.
5:30. You're just like, whoa, what the, I was not expecting that. And that's kind of its own little like spin on animated displays that I think more people are going to be doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I know there's been a lot of jokes and poking fun at the 13-foot Lowe's joy sign, but
What? Oh yeah. No, but
because
people.
everyone was picking those up, and then I'm doing the day after Christmas thing like everyone else a couple years back, and I see one sitting there, and it's I don't know, less than a couple $100 at that point, and it's like, oh, I can do amazing things with this, but yeah, I can't just have it out of the box and put it in the yard as is. And when I was examining it more, it's like this is a really clean cut, easy access way to put the what do they call it? Like the plastic mesh in there and
Mhm.
the LEDs to do something really cool. And then the next year they had those 7-foot candy canes, and
Yeah.
yeah, let's do the same thing with those and go to 4 different Lowe's to get get 4 different sets to complete the theme out there. Um, but yeah, so I try to do that mix of, if it's store bought, let's make it as cool and unique and high tech as possible. If it's just the snowflakes, or let's, what I kind of call pimping out,
Mhm.
the joy and the candy canes, and yeah, those 6-foot trees. That was just a standard incandescent thing that a store sold years ago. But that I probably, yeah, put too much time into. Now they make these pixel strips that you can snap them in, and you can
Yeah.
keep your spacing all perfect. Before I found those strips, though, I was working with an LED provider on that to say I need the wire to be exactly
Mhm.
3.72 inches in between each bulb, because I did the hypotenuse and
Yeah.
figuring out, yeah, the length of each strip. um, and then I think it was the next season I see now, the different companies providing just the 1 by 50 strips or whatever that you snap LEDs into. It's like, oh, that would have been so much easier. But yeah, that's something I'll get around to revamping, and
Yeah.
yeah, change those out eventually.
I like the your trees, speaking of, at the beginning of the sequence, and how it kind of starts with at least with the reveal. It started with these kind of 4 or 6 mini trees, I would call them. That
Hmm.
the way that you had them going, it was almost like if it was a guitar and each one represented a string, or a
Exactly.
chord.
Yep.
And the way you did that, it wasn't just like these effects on all 5 of them and the way that they match and it's a waveform that that typically is done nowadays. This was like, okay, each one, it's in the field, it's in your yard, and they all have, they're like I said, they're like chords on a guitar or a
Hmm.
uh a piano key, or stuff like that, the way you can
Yep.
use them that way. And I felt like it was so I see that in Tom Bet George's sequences. I see it in Matt Phillips's sequences. I see it with people like that like are musically talented in those kind of ways. And I love animated displays that are like that. It's not all about boom, waveforms. Can you see the beats in the waves? It's about creating those emotions, those beats by
Hmm.
what you already have out there. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it's so great to hear someone that actually, yeah, sees that, can appreciate it and pick it
Mhm.
out. Because yeah, we have 2 flower beds, 6 trees in each flower bed. Most songs I use them as my drum sets, where the outer ones could be the bass, the inner ones are like your toms and snares, and then your furthest inner ones are your cymbals, hi hats type of thing. I think it's just a nice subliminal, subconscious, while everything else is going on. You've got these two flower beds that hug the center point perfectly in the yard there, that are doing its thing. The mega tree is just always a beautiful canvas to tell a story on. So yeah, again, to that point, stop doing the pinwheel for 3 minutes on the mega tree, but yeah, do the graphics. I mean, I don't know if I can call out specific software and things on this, but
Oh, you can.
sure. Awesome. Then, so I'm 95% of my time in Lightorama Superstar,
Okay.
because I'll design the Mega Tree prop in there, and now I can do graphics, and I want a snowflake to fall in exactly 3.1 seconds, or something to happen because of what's happening in the verse, what's happening with the lyrics. So I love using the Mega Tree to help tell that story. It's your biggest canvas out there. That should be what's telling that. And then the last couple of years, I had the pixel matrices and the windows. I think windows make good ones for that. I cringe a little bit when you just see a bunch of P10 panels or matrices just randomly on the side of a house or something. Uh, but we have rounded architectural windows, and so I'll make sure that it fits that window perfectly, and it's not just a square on top of a square peg in a round hole type of thing on the side of the house. Um, but those can give nice complementary story things too. I did Pentatonic song "That's Christmas to Me" last year, which was super cool because I had Mr. Frost with the main lyric, I had the Mega Tree with the bass lyric, and then the three windows as the other three members in the group, all singing, all separate props in Superstar. So yeah, a lot of sequencing. I mean, you're going through a whole song. You got to make several faces. But I love using the windows for that. There was a time that I was going to buy the trees, or the light bulbs, these different coroplast things. Where I thought, no, let's do a matrix, because then I can do anything I want. Halloween, I've got singing jack o' lanterns in the windows.
Wow.
I can do snowman heads or whatever, and all you have to do in like Superstar is just create 6 or 7 scenes of an A, E, I, O, mouth sound. And then, I mean, most of these songs are very repetitive. The chorus is going to repeat 2 or 3 times. Even the verses, I would say it's only about an hour per matrix per song to
Mm-hmm.
get all the lyrics done. And I think it just does an amazing feature, a lot more resolution, a lot more dynamics than, I don't know what those choroplasts are, but it might be 3 or 4
Yeah.
faces. And, I can only imagine that it's never going to be a perfect fit for some of the lyrics. So
There's
that'd be my
just
suggestion. If you're doing matrices already out there,
Mhm.
or tree wraps or whatever, yeah, just like I said, take an hour to build those faces, and,
Mhm.
and have a lot more fun with it.
Yeah, I think faces are such like they're undersold right now in
Hmm.
holiday animated displays. Like I have singing bulbs, the coral ones, but
Okay.
at least I added a little bit of animatronics to them this year. So they actually dance when they sing using X lights and figuring out the timing tracks, and so it actually only moves when it sings. So it gives that kind of an
Hmm.
animation. It brings the audience in.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like I get more compliments and more like, wow, as long as every single song has that in a way,
Hmm.
it kind of
Hmm.
creates this whole feeling. The display is united around that one single, singing quartet, or group and stuff like that. And yeah, I think that's such an undersold thing. I love the Matrix's versions. I'm starting to dive into that because, you know, I really want to tell a story. Like you said, the Mega Tree is almost always like the centerpiece in everyone's display.
Mm.
And that, you know, it's a perfect thing to kind of put characters on it. And I've heard of Superstar. I need to dive in it myself and really, you know, I think we could, that's a great way to tell a story in your
Yeah.
display and something to bring originality, because something that a lot of people aren't doing right now. It's still kind of the
Hmm.
holiday sequences people, you know, that are really only doing it right now. And it seems to be kind of something that somebody could get into and spin it their own way, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I, for probably 5 seasons, I just had this snowflake in the center of other snowflakes on the face of my garage.
Mm-hmm.
And that center one would be all the lyrics. So, I mean, it would just be on every syllable of every song. And yeah, I just struggled with that. I don't think anyone even got what I was trying to do there. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, they've got some glitchy snowflake, you know, flashing like crazy on the garage. But yeah, it's the last 2 or 3 seasons doing the faces really, yeah, brought that character, brought that soul to the
Mm-hmm.
show.
Yeah. Telling stories too. That's it. That's really cool. Yeah. I can't wait to
Hmm.
play more into that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I guess something else. Yeah, kind of going back to the beginning of when you're sequencing a song.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people do this, but then I'm in these forums and stuff too, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, I see people having a hard time with the what do they call it, like the um, you know, the beat genie, or you know, to try to discern the BPM of a song
Oh.
automatically. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, I think that can be kind of glitchy because maybe a song just starts off with a chorus for a while and then it goes into, you know, something with a beat. I mean, it's so what I've done every single time, I've never used anything else but this method, and it seems to work really well. I don't know, maybe, you know, most people are doing it, but is find the BPM of the song. I usually just Google it, or I'll use a metronome if Google doesn't, you know,
Mm-hmm.
provide me the answer. I'll play the song, and I'll be playing a metronome, and the other hand, and figure out, is it, you know, 120 beats per minute or whatever. But yeah, Google will usually, you know, come right up to, you know, Light of Christmas is, I don't know what it is offhand, but let's say
Mm-hmm.
it's, you know, 124 beats per minute. Awesome. And now let's say the song is 3 minutes 13 seconds long. Um, you know, and I think what I've seen with some shows is people think they have to use that 3 minutes 13 seconds. They have to get as close of a time signature as possible to make it work. But what I usually do is just find a common denominator of that BPM for that song.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're using a BPM of 110, um, in a 3 minute 13 that 13 seconds over 60 doesn't quite work well. But if you can shorten your track to 12 seconds, um, just cutting that 1 second off, which usually doesn't matter anyways, because it's usually a fade out or whatever for a couple seconds. Cut that off, you find that common denominator. Now that 110 fits in there perfectly. Now figure out, do you want to do 16th or 32nd notes in a song? So, you know, maybe you're multiplying that 110 by 4. So it's 440 for the first minute, 440, 440, and then, you know, a final remainder that fits perfectly because you trimmed your track time to make it work. So might have been able to explain that a little better, but yeah, it's basically find the common denominator of whatever your total track time works against the BPM of the song, multiply however, you know, by 4 or by 8, or however much dynamic and resolution you want to put in the sequencing, and it always works out for you. Now I come in right on the song, and I'll usually just make a dummy track
Mm-hmm.
of just lighting up a box of the first of every 4 notes, you know, across the whole thing. So now I have my timing grid. I see
Okay.
where things happen. It always works out perfectly. It's not that you get 2.5 minutes into a song and this is, you know, off by a half a beat or something. So um, yeah, I mean, maybe that's
I
a
don't.
tip that will help people where the auto beat wizard and things just aren't doing it for them.
I've never heard of that, but that makes logical sense to me, using math basically to figure out the beats instead of using the software that's already basically doing that math for you. But like you said, the first 30 seconds or 15 seconds of the song could be a total different beat per minute than the rest of the average of the song, right? So,
Yeah, and you have to kind of, you know, like what's the main one,
mhm,
or what I've done too, because yeah, there are some songs where the tempo actually changes.
yeah.
You can lay a sequence inside a sequence, so
Hmm,
that that new sequence can be a different timing signature that you sequence on the side, and then you lay that in and just turn that whole track on as a sequence inside your main sequence.
mhm,
And yeah, so now you know, the first half song might have been one at 120, the second half might have been at 132 beats per minute. But yeah, that's the easiest way I found to
okay.
do it, because I think the beat wizard will just say, I hear 126. And
Yeah,
now for the first half of the song, you're lagging a little bit, and the second half, you're rushing a little. So,
yeah.
um, but yeah, I think it all starts in the foundation, right? And before you even
Yes.
start, yeah, you better make sure you've got that timing, and things are hitting perfect, or
Yeah,
yeah, you're just putting 15 or 30 hours into something that's just never gonna be quite right.
you could tell that too. People that really spend the time on that foundation, the beats.
Yeah, and it's night and day difference
Mhm.
on, are you hitting it right on the beat. So my first few seasons, you know, back when I was maturing as a light show guy, I did all non-Christmas songs because I just I'm a
Yeah.
big EDM fan, right? So
Mhm.
I'm gonna have fun with this. I'm gonna do whatever I want. Then, you know, you kind of mature and say, okay, well, there are some cool
Yeah.
upbeat techno Christmas songs or whatever that you can do. But you know, I was doing Avicii levels there for years and years, and you know, that's another one that, yeah, it's a matter of day and night if you're hitting on that down note, or you hear those big booms and drops, and then a half a second later something happens. So,
Mhm.
and it can be that way for Christmas songs too. I mean, the timing's important. I just hate to see, like I say, I mean, very expensive, very elaborate shows out there, and then just it's a massive injustice when, yeah, there wasn't just the time put into the timing,
Mhm.
and taking an extra moment on the sequencing. um, and I think what you're just saying, you know, play with the attributes in
Mhm.
these features. If it's a pinwheel, if it's a slower ballad, don't be doing max speed on a pinwheel, right?
Yeah.
Or try to make it where, yeah, where, like I said earlier, the revolution of one of the blades is hitting on the downbeat of each note. I think it gives the viewer that subliminal little extra wow factor on, you know, there's been some serious time and stuff put into this. A lot of times, well, yeah, I mean, throughout the year I'm driving to work every morning listening to the same 8 or 9 potential Christmas songs I'm going to use for that season. I'm sure we all do. uh, but you know, then, you know, I'll get to work, and I'll sit in the parking lot, and I'm sure I'm just looking like a freak because it's July 14th, and I'm blasting Toby Mac in the car of Christmas. Uh, but what I'm trying to do is just bank in my head for when I sequence it of um, yeah, what am I going to use for my 6 foot trees? What part is the mega tree going to support? The windows, the joy, Mr. Frost. Maybe Mr. Frost isn't singing the song because it doesn't make sense. Maybe
Mhm.
it's, you know, wintry scenes and things that will pass around and make it look like a snow globe. Um, so yeah, and not just, you know, okay, it's time to sequence, sit down, and track number one, feature number one. Okay, let me turn this on and off every half and half note.
Mhm.
But yeah, to really, yeah, take the time of, you know, everything has an importance out in the yard. I know I'm probably getting, you know, way too
Well,
deep here, but you know, the tree in the center of our yard has a different importance than the 5 maples we have in the easement that outline the house,
mhm.
and they should take on significantly different parts of a song and not the same thing. Because yeah, it's all those little things that I think just makes a light show a better experience, even for those that are coming just to look at, you know, lights and tune in and forget about stresses and worries for a half hour or
Mhm.
whatever. Yeah, why not, you know, just try to make it as best as possible, because all of us are putting so much
Yes.
time and money into this hobby. Yeah, I hate to just see what like I said, I did to myself the first few seasons, shortchange myself,
Mhm.
and not have enough time for the most important part of sequencing and planning and plotting, and yeah.
Yeah. What? what's color? Do you feel like color is really important too when it comes to
Hmm.
sequencing? Like you can use color in a way to hyphen the show or the song itself, you know? Like I take the biggest song right now that I think that my crowd kind of really loves because I have kind of like a younger audience is more Candy Cane Lane by I think Psy or
Hmm.
C or and the reason is because you can I get kind of lazy sequencing that song to be honest with you, but it's such an easy one too because the musician calls out colors in the song. She says red, green, blue, purple, and
Hmm.
orange, and so you can call out those colors,
Yeah.
and that kind of does it. But there's other songs too that don't doesn't have the colors in the lyrics, but you can still a song that kind of you know is kind of old school Christmas or Mr. Frost or something like that, and you would have more of like the Christmas red and green and stuff like that to kind of go with that song. Do you feel like that's kind of an important thing for animated displays is to your color palette?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we're doing pixel shows, right, that's where it's at.
Hmm.
You better be spending time on color palettes, making it pleasing. It goes to a ballad part or a softer part. You're doing your warmer colors, not your maybe primary colors or whatever. I usually do some like fire twinkle on the bottom of the tree wraps and stuff because it's just a nice acapella part of a song or whatever. But yeah, then it's getting into really powerful downbeats and stuff. I do a lot of red and green, right? There's that
Yeah.
subliminal again on hey, it's Christmas,
Hmm.
and yeah, let's focus on that. Yellow and blue works really well. Purple works really really
Oh,
fantastic with
yeah.
pixel shows. You get so many comments on that, and the tie-dyed effect or the rainbow feature of or what is it, butterfly effect, I think, in pixel editor for Lightorama.
Hmm.
um, yeah, people really like that. Again, not to use for a whole song, but one of my songs is the Beef Wellington remix of Bing Crosby "Happy Holiday,"
Hmm.
and it gets into the middle of it that kind of sounds psychedelic. They kind of do swooshing sounds and stuff, and that's where, I mean, the whole color and riff line and everything is just psychedelic, pastel color, the butterfly effect everywhere for that 20 seconds. And every time Bing Crosby says "Happy Holidays," I have Santa mouthing that across the mega tree whipping by, and sometimes he spins because I want it to just be a very trippy
Hmm.
moment of the song. But then it goes back to the very repetitive
Hmm.
jingle there, and it's red and white candy cane theme across the yard. Red, white, alternating patterns on the roof line, candy cane pattern on tree wraps and everything else. Um, so that's nice too, because I think someone will get used to a color like, okay, this is a song all in red, and then
Yeah.
it gets to some break in the song, and you're hitting them with
Yeah.
you know
Whoa.
32 different colors or whatever. Yeah, it's nice. It's another point I was going to make here too. Leave room in the song to build. I know. I know what the Great Christmas Light Fight gang will say is, yeah, you want to start with a bang, and maybe quickly, but then I really think it's good to bring that back. You don't have to have everything on at one time. I mean, I've got over 60,000 lights, 65,000 channels, and I'm sure a lot of people are like, yeah, I want all that on at one time because it's so cool. But it's okay if for a minute or two you only have 5 or 6 trees dancing or doing something because that's what makes sense to the song. But
Hmm.
then it gets to near the end or the apex of a song, yeah, then now you have room to grow and really pow with what you have out there.
Yeah, it's not about having everything lit up all the time and not having
Yeah.
everything moving all the time. It's
Hmm.
use some of those things for the big reveal. Use some of the, yeah, exactly what you said.
Yeah.
I mean,
But yeah, like you said, I spend a lot of time on color. I'm still
mhm.
trying to figure out how to make brown in pixels,
Oh,
how to
jeez.
make gray. There's a few others that I would love to attend. That's an invention. We
I got close to gray by just like adding lots of sparkles and
yeah.
just getting really like on the dark side of like white. And then when you add the sparkles to it, it kind of gets kind of like as close as you could get to like a granite top kind of look. you know.
Yeah.
As close as you could get as a gray that I got.
Yeah. Yeah, I suffer more, I think, at Halloween because you want those warm
Yeah.
harvest colors, the
Mhm.
brown, yellow, orange, like pumpkin orange, and yeah, sometimes it doesn't come across that way, but easier for Christmas. I mean, red and green,
Yeah.
well, shoot, it's the first RG of RGB,
Mhm.
right? So you're golden there.
And you said purple too, which is such like, yeah, you're right with RGBs. It's so vibrant. The purple, it's
Yeah.
just so
Mhm.
vivid. It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
especially when it's just a beautiful woman's vocal on a
Hmm.
song or whatever. Yeah, that's yeah, like I said, that's where pixel shows are at. That's where I'm always going to have a pixel show riddled in with other things,
Hmm.
but um yeah, I'm just here to help improve that reputation of pixel shows. It's not
Yes.
just, hey, look at all the high tech and the money I have in a show. Now I'm not going to do anything with it. It's like, no, we now have a responsibility
Hmm.
on something that is just amazing of a canvas that we have doing pixel shows. But yeah, pick the right colors, get your timing down, spend the time in the sequencing, and you're not going to go wrong.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Kevin, for I think we hit all the really important things. You think we want to mention anything else, or thank you so much for coming on, Kevin.
Yeah, you're
This
welcome.
was
Thanks for having me. Yeah,
yeah, this was
it's been an awesome year. It's been a sad year. We're not doing a show this year because
oh
we're actually in the process of moving.
oh well, congratulations on the move.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, that hit a couple months ago, and then we thought, well, we could try to pull it off, but with the expected traffic of having the national exposure now, while trying to move, and what if we sell quickly?
Yeah.
There's a lot of challenges here that it's like, nope, let's take this year off. So it's been bittersweet. It's been nice not having to put the 200 hours
Yeah.
into the yard, but I have found a whole extra bank of energy inside me
Oh,
now
good.
for next year. Going to actually try to move it to a local park as a drive-through
Okay.
display. I think it's more appropriate once we get to this type of size, and I'm
Yes.
turning away 1,000 cars a night. That
Hmm.
yeah, let's take it somewhere where people can sit there for hours if they want,
Yeah.
and now you have acres to do tree wraps with tree faces on them throughout the whole woods, and just amazing things that I hope we can come to fruition by next year.
Yeah, and as far as sequencing too, that's just a sequencer's dream.
Yeah.
Drive-throughs. It's just so
Oh yeah.
much potential, and then now with the 3D stuff that could potentially be applied to the software, brings a lot of potential. A lot of amazing effects can
Hmm.
come out of that, all that. So
Yeah.
I look forward to hearing about all that and a lot more and stuff like that. Yeah, that's amazing. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
Um,
thanks again. This has been great to at
yeah.
least have this forum to just talk a little more. I don't I'm been become recently familiar with your podcast. I don't know if you've had
Oh yeah.
other discussions like this, but I think it's important before some of us nuts get too carried away on let's keep being unique.
Hmm.
That's the other point I want to make too. I'm getting numerous messages from people. Send me your snowman files. Send me your sequences. Thank you. And
Hmm.
you know, I love to be supportive and stuff. I'll answer questions like, hey, this is the projector I use, but maybe it won't be good for you because maybe you have to have a longer throwing distance and stuff. But, here's what I use. But yeah, I'm not going to send files because I just don't get I just want to copy what you have
Yeah.
exactly. It's like, no, I mean, look what I did, look what the others did. But now let's expand from that. Let's keep getting more creative, more awesome out there, and not just staying in the same
Mhm.
old.
Yeah, well, it's going to ruin this hobby and make it stagnant for all of us if we just go too much cookie cutter, too much
Mhm.
copy and paste,
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, we have a responsibility
Yes.
having the best type of light show out there as a pixel show. Yeah, we have a tremendous responsibility too to keep it fresh, keep it unique, keep that personal soul or whatever makes yours special.
Yeah, bring joy to everyone. That's what we're here for.
Yep.
Yeah. So everyone have a great night and yeah, bye-bye.
Thank you.